So in a tight market, let's be honest, you can't out hustle a bad system. Slower periods expose what we call operational debt. The CRM cleanup you delayed, the lack of standard procedures, and the lack of sales training. The business owners who use this breathing room to improve the machine are building an enormous advantage right now.
Yeah, that's right. Today, we're delivering the exact tactical blueprint to out-operate your competition. We're breaking down 3 real-world AI applications that are closing deals today. We're going to role play how to handle the dreaded price objection without cutting your price and giving you a 4-step action plan to execute this week. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fitz Franson Show. If you missed our last episode, go back and watch it right now. We'll wait.
Right now. We'll wait.
You done? Cool. Welcome back. All right, cool. So if you enjoyed that, we broke down why a slower market is actually the best thing that can happen to a discipline owner out there, because it forces that separation that we're all looking for.
Yeah. And today, the plan is to pick up right where we left off. We talked about how slower seasons expose that operational debt. So let's define that, because a lot of owners delayed fixing problems in the busy years. They didn't clean up their data, their CRM's a mess. They didn't work on training systems, no standard operating procedures, no reporting structure, no accountability framework. They just kept moving fast.
Yeah, eventually that chaos is going to catch up with you, right? But the good news is this: if things slow down even slightly, you finally have breathing room to improve the machine, right? Smart owners are doing exactly that right now. They're auditing every stage of the customer journey. Lead comes in, what happens, right? How fast is follow-up occurring? How are the calls being handled? How are appointments confirmed? How are proposals being delivered? How are the reviews being requested? How are referrals being generated?
Yeah. And honestly, Fitz, AI tools are making this easier than ever for business owners that are willing to adapt. We're not saying AI replaces people at all, or even that it's necessarily always the answer. But what we are saying is that AI can seriously help remove friction. You can use it to help automate follow-up, organize notes, transcribe calls, repurpose content, improve response times. The owners who combine strong leadership with strong systems, they're starting to pull away fast.
The truth is, this is something that contractors, they just need to stop being weird about. I think AI is not, it's not coming to replace good leaders. It's just going to expose the slow ones.
Yeah. And so right now, Fitz and I are messing around with AI quite a bit. And so we just kind of would talk a little bit more about it right now. And so there's kind of 3 major ways that smart contractors are using AI right now that they do legitimately help close deals. At this point, it's not theory. It's not futuristic nonsense. These are real applications.
Yeah, it's practical stuff for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first one is just simply site visit note taking. This one alone saves sales teams a lot of time. Instead of scribbling notes, random notes, or trying to find where it is in your little binder after the appointment, forgetting the details later. Sales reps can now record the whole conversation, observations, homeowner concerns, measurements, and it can reveal like emotional triggers or project priorities, and then organize everything immediately for you.
Look, and I think this matters because ultimately details are what close deals, right? The things that we hear and remember and make a homeowner feel seen and heard. If a homeowner tells you, look, my biggest concern is communication because like our last contractor, they just disappeared on us. And your proposal later specifically addresses that communication expectation. That homeowner feels heard, right? Most sales reps forget half of that emotional conversation. And in their defense, there's a lot that they're covering, but they'll forget it after they leave. So this can help with that.
Yeah, for sure. I know that my memory is not great. I'm pretty sure every week at the end of the week, I have to ask my wife, so what are we doing this weekend? She rolls her eyes and says, I'm pretty sure I told you 5 times already.
It's because you're getting old, Jay.
Yeah. That's right. I'm a zennial for those listeners out there. Guess my age. So anyway, AI helps organize information, right? The humans are still the ones that build the trust. So number 2, Fitz, personalized follow-up. This is massive right now because speed and consistency matter more than ever. I'm pretty sure every single episode we talk about speed to lead. And so most contractors, we talked about this too, they follow up terribly. Homeowners get a generic email or silence. And meanwhile, other companies are sending personalized follow-ups that reference the actual conversation that was had. Simple things like, "Hey, John, appreciate you showing up us that detached garage issue yesterday. Based on what you told me, dot, dot, dot." Those responses feel human.
Well, I think when you're including actual references to their conversation, it is human, right? So when
Yeah.
we're referencing things they told us or shared with us, there's no other thing left to be felt than a human connection at that point, right?
Yeah. And so I think the big takeaway in that one is that AI helps structure the communication faster, but
Mhm.
that relationship still matters. And so companies using AI correctly, they actually end up feeling more personal,
Mhm.
not less. And so number three, proposal presentation. This is becoming huge. Virtual renderings, visual staging, better organization, and cleaner presentation layouts. I don't know if you've seen it, Fitz. I know my wife likes to scroll through Zillow periodically, but realtors are now using AI to stage homes.
Mm.
And so you can get a real picture of a home that's furnished and
Mhm.
they can click through different styles. And so it's just a great way to utilize the tool for something that we're already doing. And this helps homeowners get clarity.
I actually have Zillow blocked on our
I
browser
love it.
because I'm feet first out of it. I'm never packing ever again.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Look, I think
hilarious.
it's important when you're looking at the buying process. I think it's even from a marketing standpoint, like you're referring to with the Zillow idea there, that everything we're trying to do through the whole process, from marketing through the whole sales conversation, is to eliminate confusion. And it's just
Yeah.
with the simple idea that confusion just it flat out kills deals, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And really, we're trying to reduce that friction. And so the easier you make it for the homeowners to visualize the outcome, the easier it becomes for them to emotionally commit. Humans close the sales, but systems help scale that consistency. So owners out there learning this right now, building that are learning this stuff, they're building an enormous advantage. This is where we should probably talk about powerful media for a second, Fitz, because honestly, this is exactly what we help companies solve. A lot of contractors think they need more marketing, but usually what they actually need is alignment.
Yeah, it's kind of funny coming from a marketing company, right? Saying that
Yeah.
we need more marketing, but we'd rather help you get better alignment. But I think that's one of the things that's unique about what we do, right? That alignment between branding, marketing, sales, operations, content, and that customer experience. I think that's one of the things that we truly try to provide for our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of the reason why we built Powerful the way we did is because we got tired of watching agencies generate leads that companies couldn't operationally support, or agencies that had no clue how the home improvement industry actually works.
Yeah. So look, shameless plug for us here, but if you are running a home improvement company, or you do have maybe what you're seeing as a serious sales, maybe organization problem, this is a season to tighten your infrastructure, right? Not panic. And you can find our contact information in the description below. We'd certainly love you to reach out and just raise your hand, ask for some help. We'd be happy to help you out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely view ourselves way more as a strategic partner
Hmm.
than an agency, and it's what gets Fitz and I up in the morning. So, owners that are able to embrace this mindset right now, they're going to look back a year from now and realize that this was one of the best things that actually happened.
Yeah. So, all right, Jay, let's talk about sales.
Can't wait.
All right. Look, because this is where owners can make, I think, probably one of the biggest immediate improvements in a lot
Yeah,
of cases, right? If your salespeople are coming back to you and they're telling you they're hearing things like, we need to think about it, or, the usual stuff, it's too expensive, or we're getting other quotes, right? Those kind of common objections that we get more than usual right now, right? That doesn't necessarily automatically mean homeowners can't afford the project.
yeah. I think that what it reveals, or what it more often than not actually means, is that they just have a measure of uncertainty.
For sure, right? And uncertainty might be more, I think, more typically a process problem in your sales
Yeah,
process. And I mean this seriously. Like, if a homeowner leaves the appointment confused, uncertain, or feels pressure or unclear on the value, right? Then quite obviously your close rate's going to drop. Right? And during easy markets, you might have the opportunity to survive that. But during a tighter market, you feel every single weakness. And great companies and great sales processes will reduce that uncertainty.
That's good. And this is why the process matters so much.
Yeah. How many times do you think we say process in a day, Jay?
Yeah, right. Yeah. More than 5.
More than 5 for sure. I would take the over in that bet for sure. So
Yeah.
look, so here is one of the biggest mistakes I see salespeople make, right? They rush to price. It happens far too often. And look, you walk in the door, we had a guest on, a good friend of mine, Bob, pointed out that there's 2 things a homeowner wants when a salesperson gets there, right? They want the price and they want us to get the hell out of there, right? And that's been true since we started running these appointments, right? So the homeowner says to you, how much is it? And immediately a salesperson, weaker sales rep or a frustrated sales rep jumps into the numbers. But the homeowner hasn't had the opportunity to emotionally connect to what their problem is, or better yet, what the solution is that you could provide them in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And that jumping into the numbers means that you can make price the only thing that becomes evaluated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not a good place for anybody to be, regardless of what your price point is. So instead, what top closers do is they slow the conversation down, right? They ask better questions. What, Mr. Jones, what happens if you wait another year? How long has this issue been frustrating you? Have you been dealing with it? And, what matters most to you during the process, during the project? And now what we are seeing in those questions is that we're helping them start to establish like emotional relevance to what's going on, what the outcome looks like, and what it takes to get from the problem to the outcome.
Yeah, those are great questions. And I would say that, in this sales process, emotionally relevant projects, they can survive that uncertainty.
For sure, right? Because, look, I've referenced Daniel Kahneman and the trainings I've done and on the show a lot. And I think one of the things that him and his group helped establish is that, we don't make decisions logically first, right? We make those decisions and we justify them logically, but we buy emotionally. So we have to be able to hit that emotional button first.
Yeah. Yeah. And this applies to marketing too. Companies that are still generating strong leads right now, they're not necessarily leading with limited time offer. They're leading with some version of, we understand your problem.
Absolutely. Right. And look, I think at the end of the day, what we know is that like empathy converts, trust absolutely is going to help convert. Pricing is where I think a lot of contractors completely lose their nerve. Right? Homeowner says that's expensive. And suddenly the salesperson starts, we're emotional beings, believe it or not, Jay, too, right? And we start retreating emotionally. So, discounting or talking too much and explaining nervously, we've heard this before, and they end up negotiating against themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they get in that position, I can only imagine that the homeowner watches that confidence disappear.
No doubt. So how do you feel about role playing this a bit?
Man, let's do it.
All right, go get your outfit. I'm kidding. So yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. There we go. Perfect. All right. So yeah, let's we'll help the people out here. Maybe we can role play a scenario where Jay, you'll be the homeowner, and I'll play the sales rep. That's I'm a method actor in that way.
Yeah.
All right.
So convincing. So good.
So all right. So I'll let you lead off with giving me a price objection here. How about that?
Okay. Well, the thing is, Matt, we, my wife and I, we like the project. What we really do, we do. But it's just that this is more expensive than we expected.
Okay. Yeah. No, I hear you. Look, you may not be surprised to know that I do hear that from time to time from other homeowners.
Really? Well, that's kind of nice to hear. That simple response from you, Fitz, that actually lowered tension right away.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's important is, again, not a knee-jerk reaction on a sales rep, point of view. And I know it's a simple little short, example. Far too often, they'll like, well, what about this? What about that? I'm like, oh, hold on, wait a minute, right? Like the quick jump in from a salesperson to defend or justify or immediately discount immediately sends the other person into the defensive, right? And what we end up with is a conflict here, or just kind of strengthening that knee-jerk reaction that the homeowner had on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So that's step one. All we're doing is acknowledging that you were heard. You had a reaction, right? And as a homeowner, you should feel heard. And also that it's not abnormal. Like, yeah, it's probably more than what you thought it was going to be. And that's okay. Other people have had a similar reaction. So that's all we're trying to establish there. Right. So we promised the listeners maybe a couple of step process here on how to like overcome this stuff. So that was step one. Step two, what we need to help here is we need to understand maybe what they believed the price was going to be, and more on top of that, where they came up with that number. Right. In most cases, what we find is that they expected the price for whatever it is that we're offering to, let's say, I don't know, maybe be half or 2/3 of what we're showing them. And when we ask them where they came up with that number, what they'll tell us is, oh, we just thought that that's what it would cost, right? I don't know your people on the phone deal with that, Jay, right? But by opening this conversation up, what we have the opportunity to point out is that their initial gut feeling, again, an emotional feeling, right, or the hope for the price was not based in reality in any kind of way. And from there, we can see if they're willing to close the gap. And I think the important thing to keep in mind, and we've talked about this before, is that they didn't tell us no. That initial reaction you gave me wasn't get the hell out of my house.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of say here powerful that everybody's a yes until they're a no.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have objections, but until it's a no, get off my lawn, get out of my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. And I think that what you did in that, just simple, reflected back to them and listened to them. I hear you. You got the homeowner to talk more about what they're doing. So now you have an opportunity to logically work through a problem to try and help them.
Yeah.
And get them towards that thing that they want. Like, it's why you're there.
Sure. Right. Yeah. I mean, again, you didn't tell me no. So we've already established that you do need something and you do want it, because that kind of knee-jerk reaction was like, oh no, it's just outside of the reach of what I was hoping it would be. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So now we've gotten you to tell me what you thought it was going to be. And now, like, where you came up with that in most cases is like, well, it's what I thought or hoped, or my brother told me that's what he did 3 years ago, kind of thing. Right. So it's still not reality. So now we got step three. Right. So after we hear that, right, we essentially need to see, do they see more value than what they were originally expecting? So now what we're going to ask is, hey, after we talked through some things and, went over the different details, did you expect it maybe to be a little bit more than that? And if we did, or if we do get a response that's good to that, now what we can start to do is we can start to open up the conversation to like budget and affordability. And if we can get there, I can be that trusted advisor that I've been through this entire process. But more importantly now, one who helps explore maybe alternative ways to tackle the difference between what you had originally hoped as this homeowner in this role play, Jay, and maybe what you've been presented with.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that kind of the strength in here, it shows up because it's just a very calm experience for the homeowner.
For sure, right? No pressure. It's not like fake urgency. It's just kind of leadership, right? I'd like to have your business, but I don't need it. Like, I'm here to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can say, I've definitely had in-home salespeople in my house, and as the homeowner, I can attest to being able to respond incredibly well to just a calm certainty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, look, you've heard these things before, so it shouldn't be a surprise to hear them again, right? We should be prepared for them. And so again, it's not an abnormal reaction for you to have as a homeowner either. So you're not, weird or an outlier. Like, you shouldn't be made to feel like one. But there's a lot of people that have had that reaction and worked through it too. So let me help you, see if you can do that as well. I think especially right now, right? Because uncertainty outside the home that we're seeing makes people, I think maybe more value that confidence inside these conversations. So salespeople, I think, really need to understand this. Price objections are usually more of a panic reaction. They were excited about this solution that you helped build to the problem that they're having, and now they're worried they can't afford it. And if we built good trust, we have the opportunity to help them through that panic. If you slow down here, slow down.
Yeah. And we won't talk about it, but offering financing helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Big part of this conversation includes those types of things, but
no doubt.
So let's move on, Fitz. I can't sit here all day talking about sales. In fact, I'm already bored. I think you might have noticed I was nodding off during that.
Come on. Well, I mean, when you fall asleep, I'm going to get you to sign the contract after that. So that'll work.
So let's do a hot take real quick. So, and I know, this might actually rub you the wrong way, which that's okay. So a lot of sales managers and owners think that sales training is the answer to a tight market. They bring in some guru and they do a 2-day boot camp on closing tactics. But my hot take is actually that sales training is a complete waste of money if you don't have the operational infrastructure to track it. I know. If you don't have call recordings, if you don't have speed to lead automation Fits, if you don't have like CRM accountability, that training is gone within a day. You're just throwing money at a leaky bucket.
I feel attacked, Jay. Truthfully, I do want to argue with you, but I will later, but I can't in the moment here. You're right in this instance. We'll mark it down. We'll celebrate it every year as the day that Jay was right.
That's right. I tell my wife.
There you go. But I will push back just a little bit. I think it's not just about the infrastructure, right? It's about the standard of leadership as well. I think on top of that, I think you can have the best CRM in the world, but if the manager doesn't actually review the call recordings that go into it and coach the reps, the tech is rendered useless at that point, right? I don't think we're in disagreement on that. We've both seen companies spend, tens of thousands of dollars on software and still end up with a 15% close rate or a 40% marketing cost, right? And and it's really just because the managers in those instances are glorified admins who don't really know how to coach people.
Yeah. We had Jonathan from Builder Prime on, and he talked about how important it is when you add a system to the mix that you get the whole team to buy into it. So, and that starts with leadership. You're exactly right. So you get to be right too, Fitz. Nice.
How about that?
Yeah. And some of this stuff, it really is because maybe the owner promoted their best sales rep to be a manager without teaching them how to lead. We've both seen this movie more than once, and it pretty much inevitably leads to disaster.
Yeah. I think that there's far too often we see somebody that's really good in the role, but maybe hasn't been given the tools or resources to know how to lead or coach what they're doing into other people, right? So let's give our viewers, as we usually do, something practical. If I owned a contracting company today and wanted to use this market shift to get better, here's exactly what I would be doing. Write this down. Right? Number one, I would audit every stage of my sales process: call recordings, follow-up speed, presentation consistency, close rates, objection handling, everything.
Yeah, everything. And then number two, and I would tighten up operations. Tighten up that response time. We've talked about this over and over again. Get it as close to instant as possible. Manage production communication as efficiently as possible. Make sure somebody is handling online reputation and internal accountability.
Yeah. Number three, increase trust building content like Jay was talking about earlier. Not that random content stuff. Certainly not the dancing that Jay posts on his TikTok, right? Not that desperate content. It's not bad. You're getting better, right? But the trust building content for sure.
Yeah. This includes case studies, before and afters, process videos, customer stories. Educational content's a big one. And, it should be kind of fun to post some team culture type of stuff too.
Yeah, I think that team culture stuff shows kind of you're established, you got a big team, and that you got family and faces that they can recognize, right? So number four, for the love of God, train your managers, right? Especially now, maybe harder than ever, because that middle management core that you have can either stabilize in times of pressure or they can amplify the chaos that could be happening.
Yeah, for the love of God, train your managers. Yeah, huge point right there.
Yeah. Honestly, I think this is the next evolution for a lot of owners and a lot of businesses in our world. A lot of companies, they've figured out, at least a good portion of the marketing and the sales process. But now what they need is a really good leadership infrastructure and training process.
Yeah. Scaling beyond a certain point, it ends up not even being about the hustle. It ends up being about the systems.
No doubt. I know we talk systems processes a lot, but the reality of it is they create that consistency that everybody's looking for.
Yeah. How many times have you been in a home and the customer's like, you're the first company to answer my call? Like the amount of companies out there that just ghost their customers. It's wild. So that consistency, that creates trust.
No doubt. And that trust is going to, lead to growth that everybody's looking for.
Yeah. 100% right.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this right now and feeling the pressure, good. Seriously, good. Right? Because pressure exposes weakness, and exposed weakness can finally be fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a good thing. It is a good thing to have stuff come out that is going to help you in the long run and help you build something that lasts. So owners out there, managers out there that are willing to adapt during this season, they're going to come out unbelievably strong on the other side.
Absolutely. This industry still has just massive opportunity. People still are going to need roofs. People still need that exterior work done and interior work done. They still need remodeling projects just in general, right? And what they need is they need a trustworthy contractor to help them do it. The question is, like, will you become the obvious choice?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the game we're playing right now, Fitz.
Exactly right. Well put, Jay. Not just generating leads, becoming the company homeowners trust before they even pick up the phone.
Yeah. Yep. We keep saying it over and over again. The companies that kind of figure this stuff out, understand it, they're going to be the ones that actually really dominate in the next couple of years.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, if this episode hit the home for you, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe, share with other colleagues and leaders out there, and drop the comment below. Let us know what some of the challenges are that you're facing, and we read them and try to respond and build content around it as well to try to answer those questions for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Like Fitz said, we read the comments, all of them. Some of them we wish we hadn't read.
Yeah. Some of you guys are
TikTok
mean.
is full of mean people, but we do. And then in a lot of the better comments, we pull that directly into some of the content that we're putting out there. So we really appreciate any interactions you guys have on our socials.
Absolutely. And next episode, we're going to dive into some exciting topics for you guys. So you definitely won't want to miss that one.
Yeah. And we're hoping to make some of you guys uncomfortable with it.
I got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So, but those are usually the conversations that matter the most.
Yep. So until next time, everyone, stay relentless.
Like it. Jay, always a pleasure, sir. Appreciate you guys listening. Happy hunting, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Now get back to work.